Right mates, how's it going? In today's video, it's chapter 5 of The Last Guardian by Jeff Grubb. Khadgar and Medivh get pissed, and then they get real pretentious. So let's go! I've seen them before. It had been a whole week since the Battle of the Swamp, if you can call it that. After returning to the tower, Khadgar took a day off for recovery, but his apprenticeship then truly began. For the first hour of the day, before he was even allowed to have porridge and sausages, Khadgar practiced his spells under Medivh's tutelage. And then after breakfast, and for most of the day, Khadgar would assist the Master Mage with a whole bunch of tasks. He'd take notes, run errands, hold things for Medivh, as if he was some kind of table or something. And it was in that particular moment of being a table that Khadgar finally felt comfortable enough with the older mage to tell him what he knew about the ambush.
Seen who before? The Orcs. You didn't mention them when you first arrived. I remember specifically asking you about other races. You said gnomes and dwarfs, not orcs. It was in a vision. After I arrived here. A battlefield. Those creatures were attacking us. And it wasn't here. Wherever I was, the sky was red as blood. Red skies, you say? Yeah, like blood.
Medivh's mood then suddenly shifted. Khadgar thought he'd grown used to the mentor's mood swings, but this one seemed particularly weird.
Tell me everything.
So Khadgar did. He mentioned everything he could remember, with Medivh interrupting constantly. What was the world like? What was in the sky? Were there any banners amongst the orcs? Medivh even asked what the orcs were wearing, which seemed a bit thirsty. But Khadgar answered each and every single one of those questions, and as he did, the older mage seemed to calm down. However, there was one thing Khadgar didn't mention: the warrior mage commander. For some reason, Khadgar didn't feel right about mentioning that. And Medivh seemed much more interested in the orcs and the environment than the humans that were there anyway.
Curious. That is a new one. Sir, where do these visions come from? Go fetch some wine from the kitchen. This may take some explaining.
Soon enough, Khadgar returned with some wine, and the two of them sat down.
You do drink, don't you? A bit. We have wine with dinner at the Violet Citadel. Yes. You wouldn't need to if they just got rid of the lead in the water supply. Now, you were asking about visions. Yeah, I saw what I described to you, and Morose, well, he said people see things like that all the time here. Morose is right. That this tower is a place of power should not surprise you. Mages gravitate towards such places. Such places are often where the universe wears thin, allowing it to double back on itself. Perhaps even allow entry to the twisting nether, and other worlds entirely. Is that what I saw then? Another world?
Medivh held a hand up, as if to say, shush your face, I'm expositing, and took a sip of wine. So Khadgar went ahead and took a sip too.
Once, long ago, something powerful exploded here, carving out the valley and weakening the reality around it. And that's why you sought it out. That's one theory. You just said there was an explosion long ago that created this place. You then came... Yes, that's all true, if you look at it in a linear fashion. But what happens if the explosion occurred because I would eventually come here and the place needed to be ready for me? Well, that's complete nonsense. Things don't happen like that. In a normal world, no, they do not. But magic is the art of circumventing the normal. That's why the philosophical debates in the halls of the Kirin Tor are so much buffle and blow. They seek to place rationality upon the world, and regulate its motions. The stars march in order across the sky. The seasons fall one after the other with lockstep regularity. Men and women live and die. But when that doesn't happen, it's magic.
Both of them paused and sipped more wine.
How does time work, young trust? Time. We use it. We trust it. Measure by it. But what is it? It's a regular progression of instants, like sands through an hourglass. Excellent analogy. What I was going to use myself. But compare the hourglass with the mechanical clock. You see the difference between the two?
Khadgar shook his head, and more sips of wine were drank.
You're not daft, boy. It's a hard concept to wrap your brain around. The clock is a mechanical simulation of time, each beat controlled by a turning of the gears. You can look at a clock and know that everything advances by one tick of the wheel, one slip of the gears. You know what's coming next because the clockmaker built it that way. Okay? So, time is a clock, but it's also an hourglass. The hourglass also measures time, true. Yet, you never know which particular particle of sand will fall. But the end result is always the same. all the sand has moved from the top to the bottom. What order it happens in does not matter. So, you're saying that it may not matter if you set up your tower here because of the explosion, or that the explosion occurred because you would eventually set up your tower here. Close enough. So these visions are what? Bits of sand.
Medivh frowned slightly, and even more sips of wine were had.
Like, if the tower is an hourglass and not a clock, then there's bits of sand, of time itself, that are moving through it. We can see them, but not clearly. Some of it's part of the past, some of it's part of the future, and some of it could be of other worlds as well. Possible. Full marks. Well thought out. The big thing to remember, Khadgar, is that these visions are just that. Visions. They waft in and out. With this tower a clock, they would move regularly and be easily explained. But since the tower is an hourglass, they don't. They move at their own speed and defy us to explain their chaotic nature, which I, for one, am quite comfortable with. I was never a big fan of an orderly, well-planned universe anyway. But if you ever sought out a particular vision, wouldn't there be a way to discover a certain future and then make sure it happened?
Medivh's mood went ahead and darkened again.
Or make sure it never comes to pass? No. There are some things that even a master mage respects and stays clear of. This is one of them. But no. But no. But no. Now, we've had a bit of wine. Let's see how it affects your magical control. Levitate my mug. But we've been drinking. Exactly. You will never know what sands the universe will throw in your face. You can either plan to be eternally vigilant and ready, eschewing life as we know it, or be willing to enjoy life and pay the price. So levitate my bloody mug.
It was in this moment that Khadgar realised just how much wine they'd actually drank. 'Twas a lot. He desperately tried to clear the fuzziness from his mind and concentrated hard on the ceramic mug. The good thing about this recent promotion to apprentice was that Khadgar got the evenings to himself. Medivh had even given him free license in the library to research as he saw fit, including the myriad questions that his former masters in the Violet Citadel had requested. However, there had been one caveat.
My only demand is that you show me what you write before you send it to them. Not because I fear you'll keep something from me, young trust, but because I'd hate for them to know something I'd forgotten about.
So Khadgar hit the books pretty hard, most evenings. He found a whole bunch of epic poems about Medivh's mother fighting some unnamed demon for Guzbar. For Lady Delth, he found a whole bunch of elven tomes. For Alonda, he plunged through every bestiary he could find, and unfortunately could not push the number of troll species past 4. And finally, Khadgar spent his evenings trying to find out some more information on this whole Guardian thing he'd heard so much about. But so far, Khadgar's research had turned up a whole bunch of diddly squat. Only a brief passing mention in an elven tome about royal histories. The Guardian had attended this wedding, or that funeral, or been the vanguard of some attack. Was the Guardian a position, perhaps? Or was it a single being? And what the bloody hell was a Tirisfal? That word had popped up a few times as well. Suddenly, Khadgar could smell vegetables. And as he thought, why can I smell vegetables? The temperature of the room rose, the walls darkened, and the next thing the young man knew, he was in a jungle, sitting at a campfire with 3 12 or 13-year-old looking motherfuckers, who were laughing and joking and having a whale of a time. It took a few moments for Khadgar to recognise the kids, but he realised they were none other than Medivh, Lothar, and the future King Lane. But their revelry was soon interrupted by some movement in the bushes, and then a troll jumped out. All 3 of the boys sprang to action, and a fight ensued, with another 2 jungle trolls jumping out the bushes and attacking as well. Lane even got injured during the fight, getting stabbed in the arm with a spear. But, thanks to Medivh's magic, and Lothar and Lane's fighting skills, the boys were ultimately victorious. And then there was stunned silence for a bit. Lane tried to make a joke to break the tension, but Lothar shushed him and pointed towards Medivh. The young mage was still standing over the burnt troll, his fingers hooked like claws, and his jaw tightly clenched. Lothar and Lane rushed over to him, but Medivh then collapsed.
Watch out for me.
The weird thing was, Medivh didn't seem to be looking at Lothar or Lane when he said that. He seemed to be looking directly towards Khadgar. The Master Mage's eyes then rolled up into the back of his head, and young trust. The vision dropped away as quickly as a magician's curtain, and Khadgar found himself back in the tower, with present-day Medivh staring at him.
Are you alright? I called out, but you didn't answer.
Sorry, sir. It was a vision. I was lost in it, I'm afraid. Not more orcs and red skies. Trolls. Blue trolls. In a jungle. I think it was this world this time. Medivh's concerns deflated.
Jungle trolls. I met some once. Down south in Stranglethorn Vale. But no orcs this time, right?
No, sir.
Good. Do you have Song of Aegwyn?
What?
Song of my mother. It would be an old scroll. I swear, Khadgar, I can't find anything here since you cleaned. It's with the other epic poetry, sir.
Khadgar really wasn't sure whether he should tell Medivh the details of that latest vision, because he wasn't entirely sure whether it was his place to talk about something so personal and invasive. But he did wonder whether that was the moment Medivh had fallen into his coma.
I have to go. Tonight, I'm afraid.
Where are we going?
I go alone, this time. I'll leave instructions for your studies with Morose.
Well, when will you return?
When I'm back.
Alright, fine. I'll just sit here and figure out how to tame an hourglass, Khadgar thought. And we're leaving it there! Just to clarify, Medivh collapsing after their little skirmish with the trolls is not actually the moment he fell into his coma. He's just passed out from the strain of the spells and stuff. His coma happens after this event, on the eve of his 14th birthday, which means he burned a troll alive when he was like 13 or something. So that's nice. As usual, links in the description for the book, my Patreon page, my Discord, all of that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!